us through our steps of how we work, how we appraise the deal, and the considerations that come into effect. But largely, the forefront of us providing finance is based on you. We like to say we are character-based lenders, meaning that we because we're going to walk this journey for the next 15 years. We need to feel comfortable with you as the property entrepreneur. We and you know the subtle differences between us and a normal bank, but those differences hopefully propel you regarding your property investment and your property journey. You know, we have a whole bunch of training available, as we find that let alone the finance. A lot of entrepreneurs just need more information, need guidance on some hurdles that they can learn. You know, a lot of people when you say are privileged, is because they have information. Information is a big separating factor between those that do and those that don't. So at TUHF, it's very important that the applicant or the property entrepreneur is one that we back, one that we find that no, you don't have to be this A student or whatever. You don't have to have all your ducks in a row. You know, we are people-based lenders. We have a close relationship with our applicants, and we try work and solve solutions together. Mara, if you as the entrepreneur are not meeting us halfway, your property can be fantastic performing. But if you as the entrepreneur are not meeting us, and there's an issue regarding your personality, your ability, your responsibility, then that weighs a big decision for us in whether we want to finance your project or not. And yeah, so I don't want to, instead of doing too many comparisons between us and traditional banks, just know that we take into the property entrepreneur as much as we do the subject property. Those two items are very important when we are appraising a deal that we want to back. So what I'll do is I'll just share my screen. I'll take us through our steps of how you are able to access our finance. TUHF is available, for those who don't know, TUHF is available for inner city finance in most of the major cities. Let me just open up here. Most of the major cities, and we are inner city finances. Okay, so if you have a rural development proposed project, then unfortunately that is not one. Just give me a sec while I open the screen. That is not one we would back. Okay, I'm taking it. I'm hoping you can all see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can, Mobi.
Perfect, great. So there's 8 steps to pursuing property finance with TUHF. And as Ndumiso said earlier, I need to just let you guys know that I am one of the portfolio managers for Umastandi, which is another department of TUHF. It's our township lending property financing company. And there we, you know, essentially with Umastandi, what we're doing is affordable housing using, essentially we're making our back rooms, but bringing the practices of traditional mortgage finance and making it available for people in the townships or who want to invest in the townships. As if you guys are aware of the market, it is one that is booming at the moment, and will be for the next few years. It really has a bright future. However, the instruments are still the same between TUHF and Umastandi. And that is why I am more than comfortable to take you guys through our inner city financing opportunity. TUHF was formulated, I think 1996 or so. We'll just have to confirm that. So you know, we have a lot of experience and skin in the game. We do not just set up shop the other day. I hope for some of you that are familiar with TUHF and have been inquiring, that you have been informed to a satisfactory level. And for those of you only finding out about us now, feel free to make contact, give us a call the front desk, or if you're able to get an email address, make contact and request to speak to one of the portfolio managers. Anyways, let's start. So how do we do this? How does TUHF finance? No, I opened up by saying there's the character-based lending, where you as a person does not mean you have to be fully educated with a professor and be have your master's degree. That would be exclusionary. We are trying to be inclusive as possible, and we just really want to see someone with that entrepreneurial spirit and the humbleness to learn more, as well as the confidence to speak up, that perfect balance. But now we'll talk more about the property itself and how we go about assessing if it's a property that we are willing to back. Your first step would be to identify a project in the inner city. Recall, I said if you have a proposed project and it's in a rural area, we are not providing finance in rural areas. We are inner city lenders. As some of you would know, that the inner city has a large amount of demand for housing, and then you've got the issues of hijacked building, dilapidated buildings that are overcrowded. The demand for accommodation in the inner cities is large, and that is why we are specifically addressing the inner city housing. So your first step would be to identify a property if you do not already have one. I will share with you at the end of this the areas of finance that we are financing, and possibly Undumiso will maybe share a brochure with you for you guys to review after the session. That project that you want to do, so you can either find an existing property, own an existing property, or you can do a brand new construction deal. Okay, you can do a proper new development. It's called a greenfield, from the ground up. So it's just a vacant stand from the ground up. However, you need to know that at TUHF we only finance up to 80% of a project. 20% of the total costs of the proposed project will have to come from you. That's your equity contribution. And it can be more depending on the feasibility, which is something I'll speak to more a bit later now. But we finance up to 80%. You are required to come with 20%. You need to put in some money into the project, and that will definitely make you treat the project with the required responsibility you should, if you've put in money. TUHF is not a grant, it is mortgage finance, it's a loan. And for you as an entrepreneur, it is a business decision that you're going to weigh up. That look, and with the mortgage comes the risk that the property is bonded. So it is a business decision you will have to make as an entrepreneur. This is not a grant, it is not free money. So you can either purchase an existing property, You can be an owner of a property and just want to do improvements, or you can develop a brand new building. You are required to contribute at least 20%, depending on the project's feasibility. So over here on the right-hand side of my screen, you can see the different types of products we have available: purchase only, purchase plus construction, construction only, conversion only, equity release, and refinance. I'll quickly walk you through these. Your purchase only is if there's an existing property, you've spoken to the buyer, to the seller, or to the estate agent. It's a beautiful building, it's well located, and it does not require any further improvements. You just want to be the owner because you feel that you can maybe run the building better than the existing landlord is doing. We have a purchase only product. Purchase plus construction. The name speaks for itself. This is for you maybe find a dilapidated building, a ruined building, a building that was hijacked, a building that has a bad stigma and is vacant, a building where the owner has fled. We have the purchase plus construction. So that essentially means you can acquire the building as well as improve the building. Let's say the purchase price is 5 million rands, and your proposed construction cost is 5 million rands. Your total loan or request for finance will be 10 million rands, of which you are required to contribute 20% of that 10 million. And that 20% could rise depending on the amount of works and the cash flow of the property. This purchase plus construction for the guys located in Johannesburg. If you recall, Herman Mashaba a few years ago announced that there were I think 98 buildings in Joburg that were up for free. And it just needed entrepreneurs to come with a plan of how they would look to further improve this building, or the 98 buildings that were named. This would have been your option, the purchase plus construction. We have just one of Galaxy S9, just mute there. We have a construction only option. So this is for you if you're an existing landlord, and you might have cash flow issues. However, you've got a brilliant deal. Maybe you've secured student housing, a student agreement housing with one of the tertiary institutions, and now you need to improve your building. We do support the construction only. We've got conversion. This is a transformation. What conversion is transforming a commercial property into a housing project. And let me actually elaborate a little bit on that. TUHF stands for the Trust for Urban Housing Finance. Our main focus is residential units, providing affordable housing in the inner city. So if you are wanting to do a shopping center, that is not necessarily something we can support. If the shopping center is a mixed-use building and you propose to have 100 units upstairs above the shopping center, then that's a mixed-use project and it's something we can look at. But TUHF, our whole ethos is to improve the living conditions of the residents of South Africa. So we are focused on residential units. However, mixed-use buildings are being looked at. If you want to just do commercial only, whether it's offices or a shopping center, you'll find that you'll get the feedback that that's a project we will not support just based on that, it's not improving the living standards of our residents of South Africa. Equity release and refinance are similar, but equity release is you own an existing asset, you own an existing property, and maybe you are held up with some cash flow again, and you need the cash flow. Let's say you own a building in the inner city, and you've identified your next project you want to buy. Equity release and the conditions of that next sale is that you need to put a down payment or deposit of 500,000 for say. Your total cost, your total purchase will be 2 million, and for some reason they say you need to put down 500,000 to secure the property. What you can do is perform an equity release on your existing property, meaning you essentially you ask for a loan for 500,000 rands worth of your existing property. The property would have to be, obviously, the valuation of your existing property will have to be more than what your equity release requires. But if you need the cash flow, you need 500,000 rand to secure this next property, you can perform an equity release. We release 500,000 rands from the valuation of your current property. That 500,000 rand is a loan. So you now just taking out a 500,000 rand loan in equity to make the down payments on your next project. And if that is just all you needed from us, then your loan will be for that 500,000 rand equity release. If you need to do the equity release towards that project, as well as finance the remaining amount, as well as further improve it, then you are doing a combination of a few, but it will be an equity release, purchase plus construction. That you find equity release is quite a popular product, as a lot of people don't necessarily have, example, that 500,000 rand to make as a down payment to secure the next property. Refinance. What refinance is if you have an existing bond on your property, you didn't know about TUHF, and you have an existing bond with a alternative financier, but you want to make improvements on this subject property, but you're in a bond with another bank. Refinances will settle what you owe. We will settle what you owe to your existing financier. That's, for an example's sake, you have 500,000 rand left to pay off your existing bond to A, B, C, D bank, and you want to improve that same building because you have a condition with one of the universities to provide 700 rooms. You want to then do a refinance, means we settle your bond with ABCD Bank. That amount is then transferred to us, or you've entered into a new loan with us. We want to centralize all the loans. We don't want you paying ABCD Bank, as well as you now have a bond with us on the construction. It's a mess. We have to centralize the assets, finances. We'll settle the bond with ABCD Bank and then add your proposed construction costs to have one source of financing. Someone just mute there. There's a background noise. Just double check that you're on mute, everyone. And then we have over here our Intsotuko Equity Fund. So recall I said we finance up to 80%. A barrier to entry is that 20%. Sharp, you've got this building, it costs 1 million rand, for example. It costs 1 million rand. We're saying we can support you with 800,000. You need to come with 200,000 rand to the party. Marauna, 200,000 in your pockets. We know that is a barrier to entry. So what TUHF has done is we've set up the Intsotuko Equity Fund, which helps, it's specific. I'll even read this box out for you. IEF supports previously disadvantaged individuals who face constraints in accessing finance to enter the property investment market. So it is specifically for that 20% condition. If the cash flow of the proposed project is good enough to handle the loan required for the entire project, and it can handle a second loan for equity. The Insutuko Fund is an equity contributor. So we say we need that 20%. You've only got 50,000. You need 150,000 assistance from us in that equity contribution. That's where the Insutuko Equity Fund comes in. It's structured differently. But we want all our projects need to be feasible. We don't just give you money and then or finance, and then you have to find your way to make your monthly repayments with us. Everything has to be feasible, meaning the cash flows generated from the property need to be able to service the commitments, the financial commitments of the proposed project. Settling your utilities account, repaying the loan, paying your expenses, as well as making a marginal profit. That is a project that we will deem feasible. If you do not have equity and you require the Insutuko Equity Fund to assist you, the proposed project's feasibility needs to be able to handle the Insutuko Equity Fund. It needs to be able to handle the loan, the subject loan for the purchase price of the property, as well as the loan for the equity contribution we've assisted you in. Insutuko Equity Fund, I think, is a fantastic financial model that we've included just to aid the barriers of entry. We know property is a large purchase. It's a long-term financial structure that you really have to have the patience for. And it can seem like a mammoth task to enter and to participate in. However, what we do as TUHF and at Umastandi is we try and deal with the social aspects, the social constraints to accessing finance. We're really trying to be as inclusive as we can by providing as much assistance as we can. I'll mention it at the end, just on how much assistance we try to provide. We also have a TPPE training.
I remember even Paul attended the course on risk.
Notzana. Thank you. I was saying that we also have TPPE training. It's a 6-month short-term course in collaboration with the UCT on property entrepreneurship. Like I said, we don't just want to provide you with finance and then we wait for month end for you guys to make your repayments. We try aid the property entrepreneur as much as we can. We try hold your hand, not the whole way. You do need to show entrepreneurial spirit. You do need to take on your responsibilities as the entrepreneur, as the developer, as the landlord. But we provide that guidance and that support as we want to encourage property entrepreneurship in South Africa, especially amongst previously excluded or disadvantaged citizens of our country. Credit approval, step 5. So see here, they have entrepreneurs and the project. When we are looking at the approval of the proposed project, and all this information is available on our website, guys. So please feel free to, after the session, go have a look at the website if maybe I've skipped something or I spoke a bit too fast. But the entrepreneurs and the project itself are equally important in our evaluation. We do not just support the project. We need you as well. Our loan period is 15 years. And for this 15 years, we are going to have to work with each other. So entrepreneur himself, herself, is something that we strongly look at. And here we have some points. The entrepreneur should have equity contribution towards the project. We won't finance 100% because that means we're carrying all the risk. You need to invest into the project as well, to almost share the risk associated, and as well as it will by nature sharpen your focus on what it is you are wanting to do with the project. You'll be invested if you put in your own money into the project. You need to be honest and reliable character. That's a no-brainer, but you'll be surprised by some of the guys that we have come across. You need to know your market, know the inner city. Don't go into an area where you don't know what's going on and you don't understand the social dynamics of that proposed area, as well as the property market itself. You need to know what type of units are popular, what will work, what are the residents' affordability, what's the popular units configuration. You need to really know the inner city. Have the property management skills and networks of contacts for the project size. So depending on how big of a project this is going to be, you will need to build a team around yourself. We don't expect you to be an engineer, the accountant, the draftsman, the property manager, all of that in one. No, you need to work a network and bring a group of people that you think will assist your plan and your idea to invest in a property. Outsource the structural engineer, get a electrician if you're not one yourself. If you're gonna depending on the number of units of the property, we need you to have a property manager, and they usually work on collecting a percentage, or they charge you a percentage of what they've collected. But the advantages, there's multiple advantages of having a property management company that's external. They handle the marketing of the property, they handle the tenanting of the building, the vetting of the tenants, collection, notices, inspection. I would say you should be fully invested in knowing that information too, but outsource it. Have a team around you, especially if you're going to be a first-time developer. If the proposed project is small and it's maybe only 10 units, then that's different. Then you can be the property manager. There's a bunch of online tools that you can do to do the background checks, as well as collection and invoicing systems online that are very affordable. You need to provide good customer service, firm credit control. That speaks to the property management I was just speaking to. If a building, you don't want to bite more than you can chew. So if it's a large units, or multiple units, maybe 20 and above, we would advise that you seek an external property manager to maintain the building for you. The property must make sufficient profits. Look, guys, we won't finance the project if in the feasibility stage the property does not make profit. So with the debt coverage ratio, DCR, just means the amount of cash flow generated from, or the amount of cash, the amount of revenue generated from the property needs to service its debt. And there's an actual ratio for that. It's called the DCR, and it will spit out a percentage. I know with Umastandi, our DCR is 1.4. With the TUHF lending, it's a bit lower than that. It could be 1.2, 1.1. I must just clarify with one of my colleagues. But the property needs to generate a profit. If your proposed property only breaks even or does not generate a profit, it is highly likely we will decline that. Why I'm even saying highly likely and not just we will decline it, you can find that the way you've structured the debt is that you might make a bit of a loss, a marginal loss in your first year, but in year 2, 3, 4, and 5, the property then starts generating its profits, then that is a condition that will be looked at. But this is on a case-by-case basis. We don't just have a flat line approach to some of our hurdles. Then the projects need to be in a major city that are in urban area decline. So with property investment, guys, you wanna assess the market and you wanna purchase something that is being sold for less than what you think the value can really be. You want to develop, you want to improve this building. The building traditionally would have gone for 1 million rands. However, the conditions of what's going on in the neighborhood, that existing project or that existing building is being sold at 500,000 rands. Are you able to make the most of that opportunity? Are you able to make the most of the sale price? If you buy something, let's say in Santon, and the asking price is either market related or even above the market, because it's a A-grade building and it's a standard state-of-the-art building, that is not a project that we will be interested in. We are interested in projects in areas of decline, and with our financing, we will turn that area around. We are not interested in state-of-the-art markets. So your more affluent areas are not our areas of finance. They are other financiers who will be investing in those areas. TUHF, however, we look at those areas of decline and how can we turn it around? Because areas of decline still have people in them. How can we further improve the living conditions? Areas that proposed project needs to be close to schools, transport systems, places of work. It needs to have demand. Those are all amenities that indicate demand to live there. If there's no bus or taxi routes or school or workplaces nearby, why will people want to live there? It really needs to make sense that it's an area of demand. The proposed project needs to be economically sustainable, able to generate sufficient income to repay its expenses, as well as service the loan and make a profit. I mentioned that a bit earlier. The feasibility, the project has to be feasible. You don't only just pay your loan back. It's not, the agreement isn't, I pay my loan back and the rest of the money is mine. No, you have to, the proposed project needs to repay its expenses, repay the municipality, repay the loan, as well as make a profit. If those of all four achieved, then that project is deemed feasible. A lot of people like to treat the utilities bill as a secondary thought, as the last payment. It's something that's allowed to gather in arrears or accumulate arrears. That's not part of our structure. And if that is your intention, just know we won't support the project. We work closely with the inner city. We work closely with the government on densification, on the densification agendas that the government has proposed. And with our projects, if you guys are in Johannesburg, they're actually based around the various cities, but I'll speak to Joburg. Just drive around your Hillbrow, Braamfontein, Maboneng. A lot of those investments are a tough we actually invest there, and that is the typical type of area where you can see that these places just need to be improved. The demand for housing is here. We just need to improve the living standards, accommodation, provide affordable housing, and respectable conditions. We'll upgrade buildings in the selected inner city area, provide affordable and decent rental units. Just mentioned that, and you need to have a positive effect on the areas in which they are based. Like I said, we actually focus on areas that are in decline or have gone through a decline, and how can we improve it? how can we up the living standard conditions in this area? How can we accommodate so that buildings are no longer hijacked? How can we accommodate so that there's not an informal settlement right next door, the neighborhood that you are investing in? Then step 6, meet the conditions of the approval and sign the loan agreement. Be prepared. Delays in obtaining clearance certificates, non-compliance, and any kind of equity not being readily available will delay this process. Please make sure you have everything in place to ensure a smooth and speedy registration. So registration takes some time, guys, and that's maybe a good thing. Registration of a bond usually will take about 6 to 8 weeks, maybe even more, 8 to 10 weeks. So it's about 3 months. And in that time, we need to start putting all the compliances together. Essentially, best case scenario, all our compliances should be ready by the time we propose the deal to our MANCO, to our board. But in between that time of we've proposed, and let's say some things you were still working on, we would ask our MANCO and would inform them that there are certain items. There's a parking relaxation that the clients asked for, that we are still awaiting from the municipality. There are some things that we are able to still present. However, you need to be working on them. And before the bond is registered, we need to have those outstanding issues attended to, because we won't release any funds. We could have done all the hard work, but we won't release any funds until all our conditions are met. Step 7, registration of the property takes place, and then construction begins, or the purchase begins, or the improvement begins. So only once the property has been registered, the bond has been registered with TUHF, then do we release our we call them drawdowns. Then do we release payments, and the payments will not be a lump sum. It will be especially depending on the structure of what you are doing. If it's a purchase only, sure, that is one payment that pays off, the seller, the transferring attorneys, the conveyancer, and all the associated costs. But if it's a construction deal, a new build development or improvement, a conversion, then those payments are released in tranches, and at each stage there will be compliances met. During construction, if you are a first-time property developer, like I said, we try aid our clients in this journey, because sometimes, more often than not, the guys are first-time developers. We have an external project review consultant who him and his team are either QSs, quantity surveyors, as well as have engineering backgrounds, and they externally come and attend to the construction sites on behalf of TUHF. They compile a report for us. They tell us if the building has been, or if let's say the foundation has been laid, has it been laid to the standards? Are the invoices in alignment? There has to be a costing control that is performed, because you can find that either the contractor is taking advantage of you, or you as the clients are trying to take advantage of TUHF. We have an external PRC who have numbers of years of experience in construction, and we'll be able to review the quality and the cost control. But our PRC work together with your selected project manager for the construction site. Bridging finance is another instrument we have here. If there were conditions to your purchase or to the proposed property, and we say, look, we need you to settle some of these outstanding debts because we want a clean project to be in our books. We have this bridging finance, the short-term loan that's up to 6 months to enable entrepreneurs to cover the temporary needs. where quick decision making is required when purchasing a property. So this is a short-term loan. It needs to be a project that we are going to be supporting anyways. And then this bridging finance will be available to settle what the hurdles that your proposed project could be experiencing. However, the costs associated still need to be feasible, still need to be carried by the subject property. And then step 8, congratulations. Construction complete, rent up, and cyclical processes. Well done, you've made it through the construction and your property is now getting ready for tenants to move in. Now it's time for the housekeeping. All our clients have the option to attend our mentorship program. I think it's even mandated. It might not even be an option. We require for you to attend our mentorship program. The mentorship applies to both Umastandi and TUHF, where it's 6 months into your new loan, and we don't want to leave you in this world that you might not. Some of you have experience, but you can always learn more. And some of you will be a first-time developer. We don't want to leave you. We are as invested in the property's performance and its success as you are. So we have the mentorship with some of you might know him. Henry is I have no words to express how much experience and how insightful our mentor is, Ubud Henry. And it's a 6-month program where you guys express the challenges you're going through and how we can, together work up a solution to attend to your needs. Okay, that is essentially how we work. I think most importantly, you guys need to, the step 3, the different type of products we have available. It's not just purchase only. You got purchase plus construction. You got construction only. That means you already own the property. You've got conversion only. Maybe it was an office building and now you want to make it units, residential units. We got equity release. Maybe you own a building, but you don't have the cash flow. You don't have the cash in your account to pay a down payment on your second property. You can perform an equity release on the existing property you have towards the down payment of your second property. And then you can do a refinance, meaning we can settle the bond, your existing bond, but there needs to be a plan. Are you improving the building? Are you building more units? Are you doing a conversion? Are you maybe putting a retail space on the ground floor? The rest of the units have... The rest of the units upstairs are residential, and maybe you want to add commercial space on the ground floor, but you have an existing bond with ABCD Bank. You have this refinance option available. Okay, that is it from my side. I think I'll hand back to Undumi, who I think will then will do a Q&A, if I'm not correct.
Yes, Nobi, thank you so much for the presentation. Maybe just take off the presentation. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Thank you for the information. It seems to me that it is impossible to fail once TUHF has approved you and the project as the clients. And this is why I like TUHF. In fact, let me say this. When I was introduced to this entity called TUHF, I was told that TUHF is tough. And I did not understand what that meant until today. Now I understand why tough is tough. It reminds me of a relationship between a father and the father-child and the mother. That you have this one that treats the child softly or soft, and then you've got the other one who's strict, who says, we are going to succeed, but success is not going to come easily, because we do find lots of projects, but they are not actually feasible. That's why I said at the beginning that to me, it sounds like it's impossible to fail once you are in the TUHF stable. TUHF gives you the loan. It gives you the 20% of the deposit if you cannot afford the deposit. After that, you are sent for training for 6 months to make sure that you are an astute property investor. And thereafter, lastly, you are given to Henry to train you, to mentor you. And the person that introduced me to TUHF, it was Henry. Actually, we're gonna speak about this, whether next week we're going to have Henry in here or we're going to have a client of TUHF. I just need to make a decision and see who is available to share with us next week. But before I go to that, Mobi, again, thank you for the presentation. I just have 3 questions just for clarity. Number one, the properties that you finance, must it be a block of residential houses or flats, or can it be an individual flat? Number two, I just want to find out, or maybe in the issue of flats, can it be a number of flats within a building? So must it be one flat, or it can be a number of flats in the building? If there's a threshold, how many flats can it be in the building? And then thirdly, or secondly, I want to know whether you finance land. Can I identify land in the inner city and build a block of apartments in that land? And thirdly, the bridging finance, can I, while another property of mine is being registered wherever, maybe it's financed by Standard Bank, whatever the case may be, can I then come back to you and ask you for the bridging finance? What I'm asking is the bridging finance linked to your projects, or it can be anything? Because obviously the concept of bridging finance finances almost anything. Maybe just do that, and then we're going to take questions from the floor and then also do the chats.
Okay, so I think your question 1 and question 2 are a bit similar. And what we refer to that is sectional title. Must it be the whole building, or must it just be one unit, or can I have units in a building? We are busy working on, and we've got different departments, but so sectional title is not a project, is not an investment type that we are investing in as yet. I know we are working on it. I'm not sure where we are with that as yet. So to answer you directly, it's the purchase of the entire property.
Okay.
Sectional title, which means those separate, let's say there's 100 units, you want to buy 20 units of that 100. That's sectional title. We are not investing in those yet, but I know that the board are making decisions and structuring how we're going to do that. So we are coming to that soon. Identify a land in the inner city and develop. We need to, so yes, that's perfect. You can identify a stand in the inner city, but that stand is mostly, why is it vacant? And then you'll find in the background of finding out why is that stand vacant. Is it buildable area? Is it zoned correctly? Is it buildable? Does it have servitudes? Does it have bulk services? What's the restrictions? What's the weight bearing, the load bearing of that surface? You can find that there's usually a reason why land is vacant, but you need to do that research. You need to find the earth. You need to and inquire, is this stand available, and can my proposed project work? There's a difference between developing a garage and and
High-rise
residential
building.
units. So you just need to research that existing stand, and if it's deemed fit to develop on, then we can do it. Oh, and then bridging finance is your last one. The bridging finance is related to our properties. We only make that bridging finance available to issues, to proposed projects that we are wanting to develop.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to the chat and take these questions on the chat. Ladies and gentlemen, you can raise your hands in the meantime whilst we deal with the questions that are on the chat box. I think the first one was, hi Ngobi, what is the interest rate charged by TUHF?
So the interest rate is, it's linked to the risk associated of the project. However, I think we're now starting to use JIBAR. At Umastandi, we use the prime lending rate. But I think with TUHF, the guys use the JIBAR. It's similar to the prime lending rate. I think the JIBAR at the moment is about 7%. And then based on the risk associated of the project, you'll get your additional interest rates on top of that, all coming together to about 11%, I would say. Umastandi, for the Umastandi guys, it's 7. It's averaging at around 4% above the prime, and it will be similar. But look, I can't give you a straight answer because it's dependent on the risk associated of the project and you as the lender. As the borrower, and then it's prime, it's JIBAR linked for TUHF, and it's prime linked for Umastandi.
Okay, thank you. I just want to add on what you said, Ngobi, that the interest rate, like I said, when I was told about TUHF, I was told that TUHF is tough. You must understand that when TUHF is doing the feasibility of assessing the project, they will include the interest rate. So it's not that you are going to pay this 4% above prime and then you find yourself struggling with the project. It will be part of the assessment. And also look at the support that you get from TUHF. There is this consultant that they appoint to come have a building that is for them, but you get training, you get mentorship, and all of these things, they cost money. And really, there's a lot of support with TUHF when there was, when people could still meet in person. TUHF would arrange dinners and events for their clients. So there is lots of support, and all these things, they cost money. And like I said, from me, it looks like once you are in, it's difficult to fail. The second question is, they want to know whether you provide guidance on where to identify properties in the city, or do I refer to magazines? I think here, the person that needs finance must bring the project.
Look, I can add some comment there. And
Yes.
you're right, Ndumi. So you are the person who needs finance. You need to find the project. You need to quit, like, you need to do your research. You need to know what you're getting yourself into. So if we're telling you what to do, then something's maybe a bit wrong. But our portfolio managers can advise areas. The answer is yes, we can advise, but just know that you need to be coming with projects to us, knowing the framework of how we work, or find out how we work. Don't not know where to buy, or not know what's available, or not know the market. You need to do your research before you come to us.
The next question is whether do you support social housing, accredited social housing with finance?
That social housing already debt, because we don't do debt with debt. Is that social housing? Is there debt? Who asked that? Anna.
Yeah, Anna. This is Anna.
Hi, good morning.
Yes, can you just clarify your question?
All right, I was referring to a company that's an accredited social housing institute For example, if I'm accredited, can I approach?
In whatever capacity.
Sorry, go ahead.
Can
I've
you-
muted him. Yes, we can
All
hear
right.
you.
No, I was asking if my company is an accredited SHI, would you be able to finance my project?
Yeah, I think we can structure something. Look, I'd advise that you speak to one of the TUHF portfolio managers. There was if it's in our identified nodes and it's a project we would have invested in anyways, I think we can look at it. But that one, I would advise that you just speak closely to one of the TUHF portfolio managers if they can assist you with that. I don't want to say no, and that opportunity is available.
All right. Thank you so much.
And then there's another interesting question. How do you deal with auctions? Do you support properties that are bought from auctions? And how would that work?
Well, if the auction essentially ideally is going to be, it will be good if you can get it at an auction. Is the price going to be less? Is the price going to be less? Is the feasibility still going to check out? Is the project still going to be checked? Is that project going to be feasible? So if the answer is yes to that, then it's fine. How you got the property's purchase price is, you can even get a building for free. You don't have to buy a building. You can get a building donated to you. We can do the project.
Yeah, and but I think with auctions, what's going to be tricky there is time, because auctions have got time frames. You need to secure a deposit and all of that within a specific time. And TUHF, as you can hear from what Ngobi was saying, they go through a rigorous process for them to get to the stage where they can actually do the funding. Maybe Ngobi, I can just ask here, if everything is in place, how long does the assessment, the feasibility take?
If everything's in place, we write a proposal to the ManCo, which is, it's a document that we walk them through, and we on your behalf as the portfolio manager, we sell your project to the company. To write that proposal will take about 2 to 3 weeks, and then we present it, and it will either be declined or accepted that day. So it was 3 weeks to write, and then once accepted, you've got about 2 months for the bond to register. So 3 months to 4 months before you either purchase the project or start your construction. It takes about 3 to 4 months.
Okay, and this one is on Umastandi. I will take it, but I will not take any more questions on Umastandi, because like I said, we're going to come back and speak to Ngobi and see if he can come back and tell us about Umastandi, because that's a different product on its own. Kopan wants to know whether if for Umastandi you can identify land, and then can TUHF or then finance that land for construction of the rooms or a block of apartments.
Sorry, just repeat the question. Sorry, I was a bit distracted.
For Umastandi, can one identify vacant land in the areas where you finance that can be considered for a development?
Yeah, that's fine. You can have a vacant stand, especially if everything needs to be feasible. Everything needs to be feasible. If that land was purchased for 100,000 Rand and you propose to develop 5 units on it, 10 units at R1 million, 101,000 Rand, 1,100,000 Rand is the total costs. If the rent received is able to service the loan, pay its expenses, as well as profitable, it's fine. You don't have to have an existing structure. You can just buy a vacant land or inherit one.
Yes. And this one, I think this is where we need to refer to the website, because all the information is available in the website in terms of which areas does TUHF finance. Also, they will say to you that we finance Pretoria, but within Pretoria, they then give you areas, because me and you, generally, we don't know where does the inner city start and where does it end. But in the website, they do provide all the information. We finance these cities, and within that city, which areas do we finance? But let's ask this one specifically, because it's asked, do we finance Mpumalanga?
Mpumalanga, definitely my projects aren't there. I mean, it's tough, Yona. I'll tell you in a second. No, we don't. We're not in Mpumalanga.
Okay. We answered this one. Do you consider vacant land as part of the equity 20%? Okay, now this one I don't know, but let me ask it. Let me ask it in the way that I would have asked it. For the 20%, can I provide my properties that I own as security?
Personal property.
Yes.
And it's not linked. It's not linked to. So wait, because now there's another way of that question. You see that house you're in, né? The house you're in right now. Are you talking about that house, Mara? You have a proposed project in Bramfontein.
Yes. No. Remember, you're going to provide me for the project in Bramfontein. You're going to provide me with the 80%. Now, what I want to know, can I use this property that is fully paid, is cash, and I use that as security for the 20%?
That would be an equity release. That would be an equity release, and the equity release wouldn't be in your residential home, your own home. The equity release needs to be a building that we would have financed anyway. So if you have a building in KZN, in CBD KZN, and you want to do a project in Bramfontein, we can do an equity release from that KZN building, from the Durban building, and use that equity release as the 20% towards your Bramfontein project. But we don't, the project that we do an EQ release on, an equity release on, needs to be a project that we would finance. So your residential house, your own home, the home for you and your family, is not a project we would finance.
Okay.
So just if I can propose, because I'm personally running out of time, a few more questions, and maybe you can collect some questions and email them to me, and I can respond individually to each of them. I'm not sure. It's just that I've run out of time on my side.
Okay, no, that's fine. Nobi, let's then thank you for spending the time with us. And the questions, we'll have more time when you have Mastandi, because we're going to have you back, and then we can ask more questions. Jabu and Hloso, sorry for not taking your questions, but you can ask me the questions.
Let's do them quick.
Okay, Hloso and Jabu, let's start with Hloso. Hloso, just go straight to the question.
Hi, Ngobi. I just wanted to ask in regards to TUHF. When you're purchasing a block or a property, do you also look at what capacity you're purchasing with? For example, are you purchasing it in your personal capacity, or are you purchasing in a juristic person, which is could be a trust or a company?
Yeah, we do look at that. All three of those options are available. You can purchase it in your personal capacity. It is recommended you put it in a company, but you can purchase in your personal capacity, as well as if there's a trust you're part of. Those three options, you won't be declined. You might be recommended to rather not do it in your personal and do it as a company for the various benefits a company would have over being individual.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Hloso. Jabu?
Yes, good morning. Bobby, I just want to follow up on Josep's question. For startup companies with no financial history, what's the threshold in terms of funding?
What's the last part? Just say the last part of what's the?
I mean, do you have a threshold in terms of how much do you provide funding for projects for a startup company that has no financial history, right? And just quickly, another question: the support that you provide for entrepreneurs or your clients, does it become part of the deal, or how does it affect the cost of the project?
It doesn't. I'll start from the back, come forward. The value-added services are not charged to you guys. We have our own arrangements and agreements for funding that covers those costs. So it's not, does not make your loan more expensive if you go to training with us and if you're part of the mentorship. And then your question was for brand new startup company with no financial history, are you then capped at the proposed project? The project is capped by its own feasibility. In terms of are you at a disadvantage for being a startup company? No, you're not at a disadvantage. In your second year, so in your first year, you've got no trading history, fine. In your second year, you will then have to provide us with audited financials because now you've done it for 1 year. You then have to provide us with audited financials. And there might be other conditions, but in that first year, if it wasn't trading and it wasn't existing, then we can't ask you for anything. You won't be excluded because it's a brand new startup. You'll rather be requested in your year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5 to provide us with the compliance documents required. Yeah, and then the project itself, its feasibility will cap it. You know, if you only got 10 rooms that bring in 1,000 rand, so that's 10,000 rand, yet your loan is 11,000 rand, it won't go forward.
Okay, thanks Ngobi.
Thanks guys.
Yeah, thanks Ngobi, and we highly appreciate your time. I'm going to be in touch in terms of arranging when we can have Umastandi.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys. I hope you have a great Saturday. Let's go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gents, there you are. We got the information from TUHF. Like I said, don't view the information as in it's only limited to TUHF. You saw their requirements. This is how from now on you're supposed to conduct your life, so that you make sure that even though you might not be where TUHF is currently, but when the time comes that you are ready to be at the level of purchasing a block of flats, or you want to do your own investment, TUHF, you ready. But also, like I said, the requirements that TUHF has is probably the requirements that all financial institutions would also have. So it's not just limited to TUHF, but it's for every financial institution. Now let's close down. If anyone still has more questions they want to discuss, I will stay on for 5 minutes after the call. We can have that chat. But otherwise, you can always send me messages on my WhatsApp. You've got my number, or connect with me via the groups, the Facebook group, the WhatsApp group, and wherever. You can always give me a call, and then we can have a chat in terms of what was discussed. And if you need any advice or any projects to be assessed, you can call me. But let's come back to next week. Let's see what's going on next week. Now, in this series, and our series is always 4 sessions. These 4 sessions cost 350 rands for non-PDF students. If you do not know what is PDF, it means you are not their students. Otherwise, you would know. And also, if you don't know this guy called Niger Adrianse, the last person on my screen now, it also means you then supposed to be paying 350 for the session. Now, last week we had Ngaba, who spoke to us about the buying inner city properties and investing in the inner city. This week we have TUHF Mobi telling us about how do they fund the inner city. Next week, these sessions for next week, they are normally reserved for let's call them celebrities, but I prefer to call them prominent South Africans who have achieved what we would consider, or I would consider, a lot in their life, and we would want to learn from them in terms of how they did it. In these sessions, we've had two prominent South Africans, which is Euphonic and Proverb. Now this week, I'm still very unsure in terms of who to bring next week, whether I'm going to go for a celebrity, but I'm inclined to go for a client of TUHF, so that they can come and share with us how does it work? Because as you can see, TUHF does not look at the individual only. They also look at the project. Their main focus is in the project, like the question that I think it was Jabu asked in terms of what happens to startup companies. And the answer is the loan, the funding of the project is limited by the project itself, not by the history of the entity. Now, I'm hoping that next week I can get someone who is a startup investor who just wanted to take the leap of faith and go big in their investment, to just come here and share with us. We do a Q&A with that person for about an hour. If I don't get that person, the second option is that I get Henry to come here, the mentor that we talked about, to come here and tell us about property investment. Henry has been around for a long time. He has managed portfolios, big portfolios of entities. He works with institutions like TUHF, who are supporting new and upcoming entrepreneurs. He is also assist in University of Cape Town with lecturing and teaching property investment. So that is next week. That's why it's undisclosed. I'm still in negotiations with several people to see if they can come to us and share with us next week. The other week we have Nigel Adrianse, who's going to be talking to us about EDPF, but also just any and every question that you have around property investment. Nigel is going to be here to answer those. So that is what is happening. Those are the last two sessions that are remaining in this series of inner city investment. Then let's just see. Like I said, we're now closing off. I'm here. There are things that have been said by Unobi that you might not have understood. You are somewhere in your property journey, you need someone to talk to. You have a project that you identified, but you're not really sure, you just need someone to bounce ideas with. I am here for you, I can assist you. I only charge, again, 350 per hour, and no one else charges that kind of a rate in this industry. I'm only doing it. I'm only doing it because I want us to grow. I want us to empower ourselves. That's why I only charge that much. I'm not sure how long I will continue with that rate, because also my plate is becoming fuller and fuller, and I will probably have to limit the amount of interaction that I have. But before I do that, I want to share my knowledge and experience with you. In fact, it's not even just about me sharing knowledge and experience, it's about us having this ongoing communication about what is it that you're doing and where you want to be. And the one example that I like here, there's a friend of mine who's wanted to buy a property for 2 million rands. And we had this discussion, and at the end, we had agreed that this is a very profitable and feasible investments. At the end, I just said to him, just quickly go and check with TUT, wanted to do student accommodation, quickly go and check with TUT if they are in need of accommodation. And he went to check with TUT, and guess what? TUT said that 2 million rands would be a waste. We no longer need outside property student accommodation. So he then decided there's no point in doing it because my target market is actually not there. There's no target market. So when you want to chat, when you have an idea or when you have a project that you're thinking of getting into, chat to me. If you don't want to chat to me, chat to someone else about it. Just bounce your ideas with someone else. But I'm here. You can use me as you please. Now, when you see this slide, you know we're done. I'm saying what I said to you at the beginning. When I meet you next week, Saturday, when you meet your friends today, you should not be the same person. I am not going to be the same person when we meet next week, Saturday, because no man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river and he is not the same man. Ladies and gentlemen, watch the space. If you did not subscribe to our YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube. If you want to know what we are up to, join our group. Send me a message. I will send you the link so that you can join our WhatsApp group. Then you are kept informed. Other than that, let's keep in touch on Facebook. Give me a call, send me a WhatsApp, ask me questions. And for now, go have a wonderful weekend and a productive week ahead. Goodbye.
Cheers. Bye, Ndumis. Bye, everyone.
Bye, Francois.
Bye, Ndumis.
Everyone.
Bye, you too.